Hi, can everyone hear me? You can nod or you can, okay.
I can hear you.
Great. Hi, I'm Lydia Vivante, and some others will join us at 6, and then we will start the hearing at 6:15. We just wanted to make sure that everyone can be heard and that the technology is working for us. Okay. The person who's listed as iPhone, would you please let us know your name? Either in the chat or by, we can't hear you now. Let me see, I'll unmute you. Hi, iPhone? iPhone, is that, are you, could you let me know your name, please?
Francis.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna, I think you can rename yourself. If you wouldn't mind, I'll just do that. I can do that for you.
Thank you.
Sure. And your last name is CIS, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, we just for the hearing, we'll need to know everyone's full name. And so it's 6 o'clock now. The hearing is going to start at 6:15.
Okay.
And so we still have some members who'll be joining from the Historical Commission and perhaps Maya and Thor as well. Maybe they're waiting for 6:15. So if you, maybe what we'll just do is I'll put myself on mute again and we'll just kind of sit tight, if that's okay.
Lydia,
All right.
Yeah.
Lydia,
Yes, hi, Marianne.
how come some people's pictures are up and other people's aren't?
Well, you might have your video on block. Let me actually enter your last name as well. So Mary Ellen Chivetta.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And let me see if in these settings, if I can get your video.
Well, here's something popped up that says start video.
Yes, choose that one.
Okay. There I am. Okay. Thank you.
And I think we have a whole lot more people. Yep, we have some folks adding in. This is our second Zoom meeting, so please bear with us. And I see iPad number 2 is connecting to audio. Tom, I'm just gonna, is that Tom Sid? Oh, shoot. Okay, that's Tom. I'm gonna rename him so it's his full name. And these ones were all good. Alex, I'm not sure. Alex, may we have your name? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna unmute iPad. Hi, iPad. Could you tell us your name for the hearing purposes? We need to know your full name.
Oh, I'm Deborah B. Lewis.
Thank you. And I'm going to just rename that. So that's Deborah B. Lewis. I hope I got the spelling right.
Yeah.
Lewis with a W.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, good. Thank you. And do we have anybody else that needs a name here? I think we're in pretty good shape. Oh, Alex. Hi, Alex. Let me unmute them. Hi, Alex. This is Lydia, the Historical Commission Chair. May we have your full name for the
Yeah, Alex Brown.
Alex Brown? Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna put that in there. Oops. All right. Good. So it's 6:03. We still have time for the meeting. I think shall I unmute everybody? What do you think?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do, maybe if you could unmute yourselves, if you want to be unmuted.
When you say unmuted, we're hearing you fine. I'm not quite sure what that means.
It would be, you can hear me, but if you have it on mute, then say if there's background noise or the dog is barking, you can put it on mute temporarily and then unmute it when you want to be heard.
Okay.
I kind of prefer if everyone's unmuted, but it's up to you.
Unmuted or muted?
Unmuted, so we can hear you, and in case you're talking, no one, if you're on mute, no one can hear you, basically.
Okay.
So but if we're on mute, can we hear you?
Yes. Everyone can hear me. I'm unmuted.
It looks like some of us are still muted, right?
Yes, I think that's by they wish to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now we have some more people have joined, and I'm going to add. There's Maya. Is muted.
Anya wants us
Maya,
to-
if you'd like to unmute yourself now, we thought we might do that. And
You want our video too?
it's up to you. It's totally up to you. I think it kind of works better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Feel like you're talking.
What's that?
To feel like you're actually seeing the people.
Yeah, that we're having a conversation. So there's Lisa's iPad. I'm going to ask Lisa to please, can I rename you, Lisa? What is your name? Unmute her. It's not. So for the people who don't have their names up there, could you please rename yourself by clicking on the three little dots and saying rename in the upper right corner of the little cube.
If our name is in the right column, oh, there's my name, okay. So it
So
doesn't
we
always
have a
show
couple
up.
people whose full names we don't have yet. This person here. Hi, may we have your full name, please, for the record? Hi, Miss, could we have your name for the recording? Okay. Great, okay, super, she's done it. And Lisa. Hi, Lisa's iPad. Could we have your full name for the record?
Yes. Hold on.
And, okay. Lisa, I can rename it for you if you like. What is your name?
I'll type it in right now.
Okay, great.
Oh, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can totally hear you. I put you on unmute.
Okay, so it's Lisa Munsat, M-U-N.
Just
S-A-T.
M-U-N.
S-A-T.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Sure. And now we have everybody except I think there's a Stephanie.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hi, Stephanie. Did you rename yourself? Oh, no, you haven't yet. What is your last name?
My last name is Scott. How do I do that?
Well, I'm going to do it for you, but I
Okay.
think typically what you do is you go to the corner where the three little blue dots are, or blue background white dots, and that allows you to rename yourself.
I think I've done that on my work computer. So, how do I get to be wide like you, though, the landscape view?
Up in the upper right, there's a thing that's, at least on my computer, which is an MacBook Air or whatever. In the upper right, there's a option to have gallery view or speaker view. It looks like a Rubik's Cube, and you can toggle between the two.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was just wondering, because it looks like, oh, here I am. Hang on a second. I'm on 2 videos here. Let me just leave this meeting.
Okay.
Now stay here.
All right.
All right.
Great.
Thank
you. So we have a couple more people, including I see B. Zender and Brad's iPhone. So I'm just going to rename. We know that some of us know Ben already, but I'll do that. And then for Brad. Hi, Brad. Could you tell us your last name, please? Brad? Oh, wait, he's on mute. Let me see. Sorry about that. Hi, Brad. This is Lydia. Could you tell us your last name, please?
Williams.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And I think that there could be other people that are going to be joining us as well. I don't see anyone quite yet in the waiting room. So, but if I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. So we want to make sure everybody that wants to participate is on here. All right. So we still have a few minutes before our hearing starts. It's 6:09 right now. And what we'll do is we'll read the legal notice. And then we're going to go over a few things that have to do with the demolition delay bylaw, just to walk you through the process that we've gone through so far. The meetings that we had in February, just kind of briefly. We're going to talk very briefly about that, and then we'll get your input on the project and so on. And just so everybody knows, it is being recorded, video recorded and sound recorded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That helps with the minutes, of course, and other things. Yeah, if you want to take a little break and get something to drink or whatever.
Okay.
You have 5 minutes before we have to start.
Lydia,
Uh-huh.
there's a chat from Marie France.
Oh, okay.
You want to check that out?
Everyone, you can also add my husband, who is sitting here next to me, Evan Wadsworth. Okay, so that's this one.
Oh, I figured out how to do it, so I added him.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
And Lydia, all the previous letters and everything are all part of the submission for this as well.
Yes, the letters that were written after, well, in support from the February 5th meeting that we had, are on the town website, and we can link to those. We have to do a share screen and stuff like that. But those were available to all of the Historical Commission members, and as well as the more recent meeting materials and letters. We share an email address,
right?
Wellfleet Historical Commission, and we all have access to it. Oh, look, there's a couple more. So, all right.
Jack.
Now, where is Justin? Just joined. So I know this is Justin Post, the building inspector. Justin Post is Wellfleet's building inspector. Anne, could you keep just a note on the time so we don't go?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 6:12.
Okay, thanks.
There was a Deb. Is that?
Yeah, where's Deb? If Deb would write her.
It's coming second.
Hmm?
Sorry.
Oh, Deborah. No, that's Deborah Lewis we have already. Is it this one? Okay. And she's like, hi, Deb. This is Lydia. Could you tell us your last name and I'll rename you? Well, she doesn't. Hi, Deb. I'm going to put it on mute for a moment. Could we have your last name, Deb?
Oh, Mattingly, Mattingly.
Okay, thank you. I'll rename you. Just we need it for the record here.
Yeah.
Okay, if I got the spelling wrong, just let me know. And
Olivia?
Meryl, hmm?
Does this have a time limit, the meeting?
Well, I think Courtney has us on for a couple hours. So I could check that.
No, that's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, actually. And Meryl, I'm just going to rename you so it's Meryl Mead Fox.
Okay, thanks. Lydia, are we supposed to have everyone on our screen?
I think
You
so.
right now.
I think so. I think the pictures get smaller and smaller as more people are added. And you can toggle between the two views, the speaker view or the gallery view.
Okay.
Gallery view has all the little cubes.
Okay.
There was a meeting that I listened to the other day that where you had to go to the next window. There was another window full of people.
Oh, really?
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that yet, so I just don't know how to do that, actually. If anybody does know.
Right, we're down at 6:14.
It'll spill over into the next window and the little arrows will appear on
Yeah.
the right and left.
Okay. Jane Lee, is that your, what is your last name?
Lee.
Okay. All right. Okay, and there's Justin. Hey, Justin.
6:14 plus.
So we're almost there. There's others in the waiting room. I'm gonna I've just admitted a few more people. Okay, it's 6:15 now. So I'd like to call this hearing to order. For the people, just real quick, for the people whose full names aren't on there, we'd like to have the full names. And if you could rename yourself so your full name shows. And maybe in a moment or two, I can try and help you with that. But right now, I think we should start. So the legal notice, I'll read this. And this was due to the corona legal notice that was on the town website and went out to the abutters as well as others. So due to the coronavirus national emergency, this public hearing will be a virtual meeting conducted via teleconference. We included our names and phone numbers for questions. And then the notice is as follows. It was dated March 14th. In accordance with Wellfleet General Bylaws, Article 13, Section 3.4, the Wellfleet Historical Commission will hold a virtual public hearing on Wednesday, April 8th, 2020 at 6:15 p.m. to review the proposed full demolition of a historic building in Wellfleet Center at 20 Briar Lane, map 14, parcel 19. Applicants Maya Beckbaum and Thor Baum, Starboard Tech Holdings Incorporated. As an abutter or party in interest, you have the right to offer objection. This may be in one of the following ways: by appearing at the hearing via remote communication, through your appointed agent or attorney who will appear for you, by letter addressed to the Wellfleet Historical Commission, Town Hall, 300 Main Street, Wellfleet, MA 0267, stating your objection. If you have any comments, the Wellfleet Historical Commission welcomes your participation. This meeting will be held via Zoom video conference in accordance with the prevention and enhancement of the open meeting law requirements by Governor Baker. Instructions for a Zoom video conference meeting, also allowed phone dial, are given on their records. With these folks here, more folks. So that was the notification that went out to the community.
There she is.
Okay, so I just want to, everyone can hear me okay? And for the people that are muted, if you want to unmute yourself, that's up to you. If there's a lot of background noise, we might mute you.
Yeah, we have TV going too.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind maybe turning that off. And for those who haven't put their full name in, Yeah, we do have 2 pages worth of people. It looks like we're doing pretty well with the names, so thank you. What was that sound? All right, I'm gonna just talk very briefly about where we've been. On February 5th, the Historical Commission voted, the majority voted to determine that 20 Briar Lane is a historic building that is preferably preserved. That's the language that our bylaw outlines. So that started a process going, which once we make that determination, it's then up to the project proponents to, the next step would be for them to submit an application, their demolition permit application. And there's a phone call. Excuse me, this could be someone that wants to get in the meeting, so just a moment. Hi, this is Lydia. Okay, I can give you that password. So what I have is 447092, if you would try that. Yes, please try that, and I'll stay on the phone with you. Oh. Oh, so, okay, yeah, thank you. If you try that link, that would be good. Okay. Call me back if it doesn't work. So, so person trying to participate. Just back to the.
You can email, you can text Nellie on my phone saying that we're watching this.
Okay, so. Sorry, there's the bit of this is difficult trying to get everybody on board. So once the demolition permit application was submitted to the building inspector, that was done on February 25th. And that set the next wheels in motion, which was to 45 days.
Some kind of feedback.
Yeah, it's coming from me. I don't know.
If your phone is on, that's what's doing it, Lydia.
Okay. Yeah, this time, so.
Yeah, I've been told we all need to have our phones off because otherwise they interfere.
Okay. And I'm gonna try and get this person's number and ask her her to call you.
Okay.
All right. And then your number again is it's on here. It's 9718.
Yep.
Hi, it's Lydia.
I believe she gave her the wrong password number.
Oh, look at the bunny.
What?
Where is that coming from?
Okay, the password is 065543. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. I know. All right, I'm going to hang up now. All right, so hopefully that'll work. Oh, there's the people admitted. Gotta admit.
There is still background noises. Are other people hearing them?
I think that was a creaky door or something.
Oh.
All right, so I think what we'll do now, there's a number more people that have joined.
I think so.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because I can see they were in the waiting room and now they're in the queue. So for those people that have joined, when you speak, please say your full name so we have that. Alternatively, please, you could rename yourself with your full name. That would be really helpful. For instance, Maria and Bob, if you wouldn't mind putting in your full name there, that would be great. Okay. All right. All right. So where was I? We were talking about the process, and once Maya Beckbaum and Thorbaum submitted the demolition permit application, that set the wheels in play. Hello? It could be that if you wouldn't mind going to the town website and
You want me to go upstairs? and do
going
this?
to April 8th in the calendar, and then clicking on April 8th and this historical commission hearing. It could be that you're using the old link. That could be the problem. And once you click on April 8th, you'll see historical commission public hearing. Follow that link. And if it asks you for the password, use 065543. Thank you. All right, hopefully that works. Yeah, so again, there was 45 days puts us at right about now. I think we would have had 1 day wiggle room on that. So we were required by our bylaw to hold the meeting, a public hearing to hear from everyone within 45 days of that submission of that demolition permit application. So that's where we are now. And one of the things that we want to hear from the community now, and what we would do at this hearing is perhaps pose a demolition delay of up to 18 months. And that would give us time to speak some more about possibilities, alternatives to demolition. And read the from the bylaw. If after the hearing, the board determines that the proposed work would destroy or substantially diminish a historic value, it is empowered to impose a demolition delay of up to 18 months from the date of the said hearing to afford an opportunity to develop alternatives to demolition. The board shall, with 7 days of said hearing, notify the owner or applicant and the building inspector of its decision. If at the end of a board mandated delay, no alternatives have been agreed to by the owner or applicant, the board shall within 7 days notify the building inspector who may issue the permit.
What song?
Okay. If there's no likelihood that either the owner or some other person or group is willing to purchase, preserve, restore, or rehabilitate the building, or that the applicant has agreed to accept a demolition permit on specific conditions. Okay, so I think, is that more or less clear to everybody? The demolition delay is up to 18 months. That means that if
Bob and Cindy's song.
if there can be agreement on alternatives to that, then the demolition, if we say could come to an agreement on preserving the building or part of the building, then the demolition delay would be canceled. So, but we do have 18 months in
And vendors.
Town of Wellfleet voters at town meeting agreed to expand, this was a couple of years back, they agreed to expand the demolition delay from a year to 18 months. It's one of the strongest on the Cape. I think along with Chatham has a 18 demolition delay. And it's kind of a waiting period to try and come to a compromise, and it gives us that time, and it's a fixed amount of time. So who has some comments they'd like to make now? Anyone?
Lydia, can you hear him?
Yes. Hi, Maria Burks. Yep.
Okay, good. I had trouble signing in earlier. Sorry about that. Well, I'm Maria Burke. I'm a resident of Wellfleet. Full disclosure, I did serve on the Historical Commission for 6 years. So that's part of my background. I want to say right off the bat that providing year-round housing for local residents and local business on the streets of Wellfleet are both extremely important to the well-being of the town. And I want to give a shout out to the owners of this building because they're trying to do both. And that's very important. And I think, the commission should be very supportive of that. However, I have to say my 6 years of service on the Historical Commission gave me a pretty important perspective, I think, in terms of the importance of the town's historic resources to its economic success. I mean, the bottom line is Wellfleet's historic character is really, really important for its economic support over time, and that includes support to local business. People come here for all kinds of reasons. I think we know that. The beaches, the shellfish, but the reasons to stay in town at our local inns, eat at our local restaurants, patronize our local businesses is because of the town's 19th century fishing village ambiance. And that's created by all the wonderful historic buildings that are in town, including Muddy Briar Lane, which is now a very prominent building. There are also a lot of visitors who are aware that several parts of town are listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and that adds very significantly to its cachet. I know these folks are proposing to put in something that they consider to be compatible after they tear down the original structure. But in my opinion, there's really no substitute for the real thing. People can build structures that, are not necessarily incompatible with the town's historic character, but those structures will be new and they will contribute to the town's historic character. I went over today just to look, and a perfect example is right across the street from this building, where there was a fire a couple of years ago, and there's a new building there. It's not wildly incompatible, but it certainly does not contribute to the historic ambiance of the town. And over time, if there are too many such changes, we're going to lose valuable historic character entirely. I looked at the Form B for 20 Briar Lane. It's highly visible. It's right on the edge of the town's central historic district. The town's professional historic consultant considers that it is likely itself eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places as a contributing element to a new district. And, I read the Form B, there's a lot of Wellfleet history there. If the building is torn down, that parts of that history will be lost and the town's historic streetscape will suffer a big loss. I realize that, when the business wants to tear down and rebuild, it's because that looks cheaper and and easier in the short run, but in the long run, tear downs will be far more costly to the town than they might appear on the surface. So I really encourage the historical commission to invoke a delay and to work with these property owners who are really trying to do good things, to find ways to do those good things that avoid a tear down. They're got interior remodels, tear downs of newer parts of the newer additions that aren't contributing, maybe allowing for some new construction. I think investing a little more time and a little more effort will ultimately pay off in the long run for the town, but also for the property owners. And I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Maria.
We go here.
Okay, are there other comments from abutters or? Hi.
Dwight would like to speak.
Sure, Dwight, thank you.
And I'm the Dwight Esty, president of the Wellfleet Historical Society and Museum. And I would just like to read into the record a letter that I sent to the Historical Commission members. And we also took a look at this with our entire board, and the board supported sending this letter in. So this is the view of the board of directors of the Historical Society. If the proposed demolition of 20 Briar Lane is successful, Wellfleet will lose both an historic house and part of its unique townscape. In the middle decades of the 20th century, this structure was referred to as the Kemp House, a rooming house run by Mrs. Margaret Souther. Its history, though, is much deeper and richer. The style of this structure, a Greek revival, became popular just as Wellfleet was reaching its zenith as a fishing port. The influx of money surrounding primarily the mackerel industry built much of the townscape seen today. Greek revivals on Main Street, West Main Street, Briar Lane, and Commercial Street are most representative of a time when Wellfleet was famous for fishermen, sea captains, and merchants. Greek revivals were substantial without being ostentatious, projecting both pride and humility. These characteristics are still a foundation of Wellfleet's citizenry. The Kemp House was built on Old Kings Highway around 1840. It was moved to County Road, which has also been known at various times as Truro Road, Winter Street, and Briar Lane. Prior to the 1843 survey, it was moved and then appeared on the 1858 Wellfleet map. Moving houses nearer to the village was an important part of the centralization of Wellfleet. The 1858 map shows its owner as T. Holbrook, most likely Thomas Holbrook. In the early years of the 20th century, it was occupied by Captain Edward J. Tobin, keeper of the life-saving station at Cahoon's Hollow from 1905 to 1924. Captain Tobin was injured when his lifeboat overturned while attempting to rescue the crew of the Italian bark Castagna on February 17, 1914. He never fully recovered. The Wellfleet Historical Society and Museum has been taking a closer look at Briar Lane in advance of a speaker series presentation, Briar Lane, Then and Now, currently scheduled for May. Briar Lane is perhaps the most underappreciated historical street in town. Its western end is emblematic of Wellfleet's mid-19th century centralization and growth, while its eastern end holds outstanding examples of 18th century folk-care. Those buildings are what creates Wellfleet's unique character, one of charm that gives residents a sense of place and one that captures the attention of visitors. Losing a building of this character will leave a scar in that historical section of town. Allowing a postponement of the demolition will give time to reevaluate the physical integrity of the structure and affirm its value to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. Are there others who would like to make a comment or read? I have a letter from Sarah Korjeff, Preservation Plant Specialist at the Cape Cod Commission. And we asked her for an advisory opinion back in February, and this letter is dated February 27th. I'd like to read from one paragraph of this letter, and let's see. And Sarah Korjeff is also participating in this hearing tonight. The building is significant architecturally, and it also contributes to the distinctive character of the Central Commercial District in Wellfleet. The proposed project would involve complete demolition of the historic structure and would significantly change the character of the site as viewed from Briar Lane. Commission staff believes that demolition of the 20 Briar Lane historic structure should be avoided, and believes that imposing a demolition delay would provide opportunities to explore alternatives to the building's demolition. Alternatives could include renovation and reuse of the historic portions of the structure for the proposed uses, or considering partial demolition and new additions to preserve the building's key historic features, while providing new space. The demolition delay period would allow time for an analysis of zoning constraints on the property, acknowledging that preserving the existing structure may result in lower lot coverage than would be allowed with new construction under current zoning regulations. It could also allow consideration of how to best maintain the streetscape on Briar Lane and address appropriate and safe access to any allowed uses on the property. And so that is, I think, an important paragraph to consider. The view, not just from Briar Lane, but also from Main Street, you get a really good view of the building from Holbrook and from Main Street. And as far as, from what I understand, the project proponents have not yet been to the zoning board, but there is a plan for them to do that.
Zoning got rescheduled for the earliest of June 11th.
Okay, thank you, Maya.
We wanted to offer another view. Jeff and Kathleen Corrigan, we own 20 Ryder Court. And, we've been, that's kind of in view of our house. So we just wanted to offer a neighbor's perspective that we feel like Thor and Maya have agreed to keep a new building in the spirit and the style of downtown Wellfleet. We were drawn to Wellfleet because of its historic character, but we don't feel it's threatened by repurposing of that property that keeps in the style of the main street. So, I don't know, Kathleen, you want to offer anything else?
Oh, right. And I think that they've done a good job in terms of relaying what they need from the building, that it doesn't offer it, but yet they still want to provide places where people can live year round, and rent apartments there too as well. So it seems like it's actually a good thing for the downtown to have this business where a lot of people would like to participate in, and also have year-round rentals.
And our experience of them as neighbors, the character of them is that they'll work with the historical commission in finding solutions that everyone can be happy with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we have this this demolition delay period. That's yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Lydia, this is Ben Zunder.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, thanks. How are you?
Just a couple of comments. In listening to the letter from the Historical Society and the other comments, I haven't heard anything that actually identifies something about this particular structure that's unique. There's certainly a concern about the district as a whole, how it appears, and also, we understand the architecture of the structure. But with Maya and Thor, an 18-month delay is 18 months that they can't undertake what they want to do. They're paying taxes on this property. They're young. They're trying to make a go of this. If you impose a delay for 18 months, they're going to lose the ability to use this property and permit this property and to move on with their life. This is a relatively large house. Usually we deal with smaller structures where we talk about moving the structures to another site, having somebody come in and relocate it. I can ask Maya or Thor to address that issue, but this doesn't look to me like the kind of structure that's going to lend itself to that type of activity. I think Maya can talk about the condition of the house. So it may well be that if you impose this demolition delay, all you're really doing is pushing this down the road for 18 months, significantly harming one of your taxpayers and young citizens in your town, and not really achieving any goals. So I think what I'd like to hear is some more exploration of what a possible alternative would be for this site, and whether it is realistic to think that somebody's going to either take this house, move it somewhere else. Because as I look at this structure, if you were to move this structure somewhere else, that's not really what we're trying to preserve here. What we're trying to preserve is the look and the feel and the historic nature of this particular part of town. And so I think it's incumbent upon Maya and Thor to try to build a structure that really meets those requirements. But, in every one of these projects that we deal with, when you talk about the costs of preservation of historic structure, it's possible. But, it's out of the means of many people that are trying to make it in this community. And so, I'd love to hear from Maya and Thor, what they've thought about in terms of preservation, what those costs are and what those alternatives are. But I'd also like to ask the board to look realistically at what really is going to be accomplished during that 18-month period. And can we shorten that period up and help them rather than just delay them? And thank you for listening to me. And thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just quickly before we hear from Maya and Thor, the demolition delay is up to 18 months, so it's an agreement could come to an agreement before then, we'd be happy. Demolitions, especially tear downs, 100% demolition is extremely rare in Wellfleet, and it's extremely rare in the Wellfleet Center. I've been on the commission for probably around 10 years now, and there have only been 1 or 2 in the center of town. Nothing, and they were mostly outbuildings, not a building such as this, which is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. So,
Lydia,
yeah.
I have these letters. I don't know if this is the time to read them or not.
Well,
it came in the mail.
Maybe we should just, okay, it's up to,
I don't know. It's
yeah.
up to you.
Maya, would you like to speak now, or would you like to hear the letters first, or?
No, sure, we can speak now.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. So we're in a somewhat of a time constraint. That's been our hardest thing. We've looked high and low to try to come up with a solution for Maya's business, for her to remove herself from a rental situation.
Which the rental is up in October 2020, and we've been looking for 2 years. Not wanting to do this project, but moving
Never even
forward
thinking
now.
of it.
This was our end result.
Never thinking that we would end up, never even crossed our minds to turn 20 Briar Lane into Maya's business. The fact is that unfortunately, 20 Briar Lane although it may have some historical value in it being a place where it is, the building itself has reached its lifetime. It would take a large
Right with you.
amount of
We're on the
and money to bring this building. We don't. If anybody doesn't know who I am, my name is Thor. I own Thor Construction, and I deal with buildings, old and new, from Provincetown to about Wellfleet, South Wellfleet. And I've, dealt with these kind of buildings many, many, many times over. And it is, for simple words, it's a can of worms, and it's not anything, Christine Reese, who owned Christine Keese, who owned the building prior to us, who was an interesting lady. If any of you guys knew her, she was very Christine. She was just basically Christine. She presented the opportunity for us to buy this building to me after many years of helping her and dealing with her, and just looking at the property. When we received the property after a year of getting to the point of buying the property, it was very apparent to us that it had been neglected for a long, long, long time. Now, I think that some things that need to really be understood by all you people, and I hope that, we love this town. We love 20 Briar Lane. We love Ryder Court. I mean, when I say we love Ryder Court, it is our heart. The reason why we bought Ryder Court, because it is in the center of town, and we have a yard. I never had a yard growing up, and it was very important to me. It's very important to me that my kids don't have to cross Route 6 on their bicycles. There's a lot of things that we think about, and our influence on this town is important too. We don't just take it as we're here to just do whatever we want. That being said, we're kind of at a point where we have a piece of property, a commercial piece of property, center of town. Now we are paying that
There's a lot of feedback.
Sorry?
Brad
Sorry,
Williams,
just to
please
inter-
mute. Brad Williams, please mute yourself.
Or someone's phone is interfering. That's better.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the building it can't withstand
A lift.
a lift without rebuilding it. We would have to rebuild that building. And the building doesn't lean towards the way it is to put a business into it, to put more apartments upstairs. It has to be rebuilt. It has to be reconfigured. And we need to get it done. And we've been at this process right now for over a year, more than a year. Yeah, a year.
Just trying to initiate, to get the plans, to get to you, to get to this public hearing, to now discussing that, and now the zoning is put off, and I'm losing my rental for my business in October 2020. And the only way the bank is giving us the money to rehab and work and rebuild this building is if Hardcore, my business, is actually in the building. And if you want us to keep the peak structure because that's the essence of this building, then the housing, the apartments would have to go away. And that's what it comes down to, is that either we have housing or we have Hardcore, or we can actually really truly build a new building and succeed at both. That's where we're at, and we want to succeed at both. We want to offer everything we possibly can to our community, to our people. I mean, we want to make that corner look good. Right now, I'm sorry, but that corner does not look good. It's not a pretty picture. There's nothing becoming of it. It looks like a rundown, bad house. And the heating has gone. The pillars that the house are sitting on are all crumbled. You would have to completely rebuild, take apart every single wall in that building and rebuild it to save the roof line. Because I think that's where we're talking about, is the roof line. Mm-hmm. So what are we really saving? We're saving a peak? Because every wall, everything would have to get replaced. I just don't understand. And in the process, if we go into it up to an 18-month delay, we lose a community year-round business. And we will lose year-round housing.
As of now, we're basically looking at a year out to finish this if we started tomorrow. So we're looking at probably 18 months till it's livable and usable, which will be a hard navigation as well.
I really, truly want everyone to understand, like, our heart is in this project. Our love, like everything, our brain, we're understanding where everybody's coming from. We welcome opinions, we welcome ideas. We just need to move forward with this so that we can continue to strive in Wellfleet and continue to, like, keep it going and bring some life to that corner, because that corner, I'm sorry, is really dead.
So my name's Marianne Alshadi. I don't know if this is a time where I can chime in. I have been going to Hardcore for many, many years since it was first here in Wellfleet, and Thor has done significant renovation and construction on my own home. I live in town. I've had a home here 30 years, and I'm a year-round resident. I certainly appreciate the importance of preservation. I think it is something we can't live in this town and love this town the way we all do and not appreciate that. I also know there's, I'm grappling with what we talk about when we say the appearance of downtown. You know, that we certainly want that to, I'm sorry, there's a lot of feedback here, but I certainly think we all want to preserve the historic integrity of the town, but the costs associated with doing that in all situations, I think.
Oh, yeah, I heard that from Bob.
Just a moment, please. Sorry. Whoever's speaking, please mute yourself. Whoever's on the phone.
Yeah, we're listening to the historical. Yeah, at the moment.
Can you mute him, Lydia?
It's on Zoom.
Who is it, Brad? I don't know.
Yes.
Brad's iPad is talking.
Mute him, right? Okay, there you go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you. I think it's, if we look at some of the circumstances in Wellfleet where significant dollars, the dollars associated with the ideal preservation, I think are prohibitive in today's climate. And they're not prohibitive for a lot of people who come into Wellfleet without the sensitivity to what makes this a very special place. We don't want McMansions in the middle of town. We don't want this infusion of huge dollars and a takeover that loses not just, it's not just about the historic preservation, it's about the social preservation of who we are as a community and as a town. My home is a classic Cape style home. My husband and I put a lot of effort into preserving that look and feel. But it just seems to me that what we're talking about are a lot of structural integrity issues, a lot of financial issues that are prohibitive for the people who grew up here, who live here, who sustain the businesses here, who maintain the year-round life that we all appreciate here. And I think there's some balance in this. I don't, there are many details I'm sure I am unfamiliar with. I apologize for that. But when we are talking about the options then become, let's delay this to the point where Thor and Maya are incapable of doing anything with this property that is enhancing to the town, or selling it, I guess, to somebody who can come in with a ton of money and restore it, but not be year-round residents, or not live here, or not understand the history of this town as we residents appreciate it. I just think, it's a real struggle, and I think we have to find ways to balance this, but it cannot be off the backs of contributing longtime residents who want to do well by the town and contribute to the town regularly and consistently, both of them. Their integrity is beyond question. I think we couldn't have a better couple oversee the preservation of the look and feel of this town and the underlying integrity of why we all want to be here.
Thank you, Marianne. I saw that Maria Burks' hand was up, so I'm going to unmute Maria. Maria, or maybe you unmute yourself.
Wait.
There. No? There. Okay.
Sorry, can't tell. No, I'm sorry. I had no comment. I'm not quite sure how that happened. I think my cat stepped on my computer. Sorry.
Okay, that happens, no problem.
Yeah.
So thank you, Marianne, for your comments. And I think we could go to Anne Frice now, who's going to read a couple of pieces of mail we received today at the town hall. These were people that sent paper letters, so we didn't receive them by email. I'll unmute you, or
Okay.
you did it, okay.
I got it. The first one is from Barbara Kennedy. She lives 35 off Briar Lane. I'll read it. I live on Briar Lane and have to drive it almost every day to Main Street or Holbrook Avenue. It is bad enough I have to look at sick day and wonder which architect was responsible for that building, and I certainly don't wish to look at a gym and sports building. Neither building fits in with our village and neither has enough parking space. A couple who live at 30 Briar Lane wish to demolish the historic home that at one time belonged to the Holbrook family and I believe, and Kemp family. I believe it's 20 Briar Lane that you mean. They say it needs a new foundation. Right now, the old VIP building on Main Street is having a new foundation put on, along with a home on Holbrook, which is on the right going down towards the pier. If the owners can't afford to restore the house, then sell it to someone who can. This unfortunately sets a new precedent. If I decide I want to build a restaurant on Main Street, I could demolish a historic building and build a new one, and soon it would no longer look like Wellfleet, a listed historic village. I say to the couple, build your sports building where the old station stands near the mobile station on Route 6. It has sufficient parking too. And the other letters from Dan Wexman and Brad Williams, who are on the call. I don't know if they would like to read their own letter.
I'm going to unmute Brad, pardon me.
Brad.
There we are. Oh, okay, unmuted. You're unmuted now.
Brad. Hi, I have your letter here. I don't know if you want to read it.
I'm happy to read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Just says, Dear Commission members, we own the property at 30 Briar Lane, which directly abuts the property owned by Thorbaum and Maya Beckbaum at 20 Briar Lane. We've been told that the main building on the Baum Beck property is so badly deteriorated that renovation is impossible. A house lifting would bring on structural collapse, and the aluminum clad outside has so compromised the building exterior that there is no viable alternative to demolition. Since we live in a house of similar age and building style, we find this conclusion surprising. Since 1978, we have undertaken many renovations that did not include house lifting in order to make the building suit our needs. We would be interested in seeing any evidence, such as engineering survey, that would show demolition as the only viable course of action. If no such evidence can be presented, then we would like to see Thor and Maya reconsider demolition in favor of a rehabilitation plan that would incorporate all their needs. Wellfleet's historical character is strong visual attraction for residents and visitors. We think their property has representative beauty and history that would be sad to lose. And that was written by Dan Wexman and Brad Williams.
Thank you.
I do have a question though, actually, to Thor and to Maya. Why did you buy this building if it was in such bad shape? You're a builder. You should have known that from the very, very beginning. You'd walk in and see that it wasn't a viable structure. And I'm very sort of surprised about that.
Well, so the answer to that is, go back to Christine, kind of talking with Christine and, basically saying,
Well, they did nothing to the building for years and years and years.
Correct. And, you know, our intentions were somewhat to have another piece of property in Wellfleet, which was, you know, we thought, why not us as opposed to somebody else? Because we could have something like this and we could all kind of basically, you know, we see you all the time. We see you guys all the time. And, you know, we're in town. We're, you know, we didn't want to lose it in a way. And, you know, we
were fearful of somebody else getting it.
And a little bit of delusions of grandeur, to be honest with you.
It was honestly, it was a thought of, oh, you know, we can have apartments, we can offer year-round housing. Maybe someday we might have a retirement plan, because guess what? We don't have a retirement plan. We got a contractor and you got a fitness professional.
Neither do I.
Right. And so we
don't either. That's a spacious
right. So
argument.
as a young family, this was our thought, is like, okay, the rentals can pay for the property as of now, and we'll like go as we can. And we didn't realize that the roof was going to be needed. We thought we had 10 more years on the roof. $20,000 later, and 2 years later, it needed a new roof. Going underneath the building, and we got the inspection report. It wasn't a great report, but we also felt like we needed to do it. And maybe that was really silly on our part, but we wanted to like hold on to it, part of our block, part of our community. And we didn't want another outsider coming in because it wasn't ever listed. She offered it to us. She passed away, and then their family re-offered it to us. And at that point, we felt like we couldn't say no, because we wanted to hold it so close to like all of us. And we felt like it must be kismet or something that it's coming back around for a second time after this woman has passed, and we need to bite the bullet and do it.
In hindsight, I don't know if we would.
I don't think we probably would have. Knowing everything that we know now about it, and
what kind of disrepair it's in, and you know,
and it, like I
we had rose-colored glasses on at the moment, maybe a little bit too, you know. Yeah.
And at the same time, like you said, you've done the renovations and everything. We don't have the time right now or the pockets to be able to do that, to do anything.
We did neither. When we bought this house, Dan was on unemployment in the wintertime, and I was cleaning toilets and at the Holiday Inn in Provincetown. And we struggled and did it little by little by little to make it happen.
Right, we don't have that time, only because my business needs a place. And the housing that has to happen there to offer year-round housing needs a home, and the bank is not going to give us any money unless Hardcore exists in there. And in the structure that it's at, Hardcore cannot physically exist. It physically can't, even if I take down all the walls. And the structure can't be lifted because the bones of the structure of the building are too weak to lift. They say it will just crumble. We could piece it together, and if we didn't need to put in the basement and everything, we could lift it up. If that was an option, that might be an option, but then it's still not outfitting what we truly need.
It's unfortunately to say this, we're trying to turn it into a commercial, you know, of business, you know, and it can't do, I mean, building code wise, it can't do that.
Legally, we can't meet those requirements.
It can't do that right now without basic, I mean.
I don't have an issue with the business because we ran our business for 25 years out of our house. Now, granted, it was a travel agency and not, which would fit in terms of what we were able to do. And we moved it around the house from different spaces.
Yeah.
But it was something
Lydia,
that we
wait,
that
hold on a
we
second.
used it. I'm not against commercial at all. In fact, I'm very pro commercial.
No, but what I'm
Lydia,
saying
this
is
is
like
Ben Zunder.
Oh, okay, just a moment. Ben Zunder was hoping to comment. Thanks.
Yeah, Lydia, would you mind just taking some control? This is turning into a debate between Brad and Thor and Maya as to why they should do
I
what
think
Brad
it's
did
useful. I
with
think
his
it's
home.
good to hear, you know, they're neighbors, so it's interesting and it's helpful for us
Look,
in our
it's
decision.
We're
appropriate.
also open to discussion with just you guys too.
Yeah, I think that's where we're headed. I mean, personally, that's where I think we're headed.
Well, I've had my say, so I'm going to sign off.
Okay, well, thank you, Brad.
May I speak?
Yes, Jane?
Yes, I'm Jane Lee. I live in Truro. I've been a client of Maya's for a long time. And prior to knowing Maya, I was 100% in the preservation camp. Knowing the specifics of this particular case have really kind of rocked my world. And what I'm thinking here is that I understand what your committee has been charged with, and I understand the position that you're in, but it really is at the risk of the community and at the risk of young people on the Cape. And we can't afford to do that anymore. We're driving them out. So you would rather have a building that was dark for 10 months of the year and then had tenants for the summer months, rather than have a young family that's year-round, productive, they're invested in the community, they're invested in the Cape, they're invested in the future. I mean, I understand that tearing this down means you're eradicating history. I get it. But destroying community is eradicating history. And I think that that really needs to be looked at. And quite frankly, it's very elitist to just discard young people and young productive families at the expense. I mean, this is just too expensive to our community to consider. So that's just my 2 cents. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to? Oh, there's a hand. Yes, Alex Brown and Karen. Yes, go ahead.
Alex just stepped out, so I'll start speaking, and hopefully he can step back into the room. We know where next. So just for context, we are the oft-vilified summer residents, which I love hearing how we're talked about here, but anyway, who purchased over 20 years ago a house that I think we consider historic. It was the old Stetson, who knew the Stetsons, house up on, it was a house that was moved from Boundbrook Island on Pleasant Neck Road. And when we purchased it, we took great pains to any renovations we made to really keep it with the historic context, which was extremely important to us in the community and in our love of Wellfleet and our love of the house that we live in, which is our most cherished place for us and our family. So, so that's our background. We also, in recent years, have been clients at Harcourt Fitness. So just for full disclosure, that's where we come from. And I think that, just heard the word elitist used, which I thought was interesting because it seems in some ways slightly elitist to imagine that someone would come in with the funds to preserve a house that it looks to me anyway, and I'm not inside it, but from the outside, to be in significant disrepair and to be nearly an eyesore. But I understand there's historic importance that is really important. So I don't want to undermine that, but to imagine I don't know who you think you would hand it off to that would be able to just walk in and completely renovate it to its historical accuracy, which we have tried to do. And I can tell you it's a significant undertaking, and our house had significantly more potential when we purchased it. I can't imagine who would do that with this house. Now, maybe you have people in mind, But to imagine you're just going to hand it off to an unknown who would do that is kind of astonishing to me. I don't. So there may be someone out there, but I think that's a pretty big Hail Mary that you're throwing down the road. I also think that you are talking about the concept that they're trying to uphold by the concept of year-round residency. And when you would imagine in a position that we would not be sensitive to, but we are extremely sensitive to the issue of the lack of affordable housing, both in our community here in the greater Boston area, but also in the Cape community, and are extremely sensitive to that, and think that what they've proposed in terms of combining a business and an offering for year-round housing is pretty exciting. And I think that that shouldn't be overlooked either. I also think there's not as many business opportunities that really combine the year-round community with the seasonal community. And I find any of those to be exciting because it brings a lot of loyalty to the community, it brings money to the community. So I think that there's a lot to be considered in terms of that. I think you do somewhat have to bifurcate the issue of the historical value of the home with the business proposed to be within it. So I think blending those is a little bit, in other words, just say that because it's say for example, a fitness thing that will bring community in is somewhat separate from the issue of the historic preservation, because any business could go in there. But I think that what they're choosing to do, the combination of affordable housing, year-round housing, and a business that combines the community is compelling. But I think the most strongest thing we'd raise is that the idea that you will have someone come in with the ability to preserve the house and would choose to do that in the way that you're imagining, I think that's a grand concept, and you might be losing a lot. If you go that route, I can see these people on the screen who you're going to be losing, and a lot of other community issues. So we value preservation, and this feels a little bit askew from a comprehensive and fully informed viewpoint.
I just want to maybe give guys an idea of what the house actually is. It's not a residential home, and maybe most people don't know that. It's 3 apartments. So it's been 3 apartments, and when it was the Kemp House, which my sign for my business is painted on the Kemp House sign. That was in a tree that I pulled out, but that's another story. It's 3 apartments. It's not a residence. It's not a home. It's a home to local renters at the moment. The second question I have is, Dan, is the woman who wrote that letter that said that we should just sell it on this, is she on this meeting?
I think that was Barbara Kennedy, and I don't believe she is. I can try
My
and check.
question to her would be, why would she like to buy it?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
I also have a question for the board. For a building that's actually in the historical district, the Holden Inn, their back building that is considered historical has been completely demolished.
Yes, that's right.
We're not in an up to 18-month demolition delay, and they're actually in the historical district, and we are not in the historical district.
Your building is right on the
We are
edge.
outside. We are outside legally. We are outside the historical district.
The building on Holbrook Avenue, that they did go through the process of the demolition delay. At the time, we decided that it wasn't preferably preserved. It wasn't listed as contributing.
How is that not contributing when it's in the center of the historical district?
At the time, it was, we thought it wasn't historically significant, that building.
But this building's historically significant.
Yes, it is.
I just want everybody to understand that building now has been completely demolished in less than a year.
So what is the basis for determining historic significance in that context? I mean, that's a good example. I'm learning myself. So I'd like to know from the experts what the distinction is.
From the bylaw, it says historically or architecturally significant in terms of period, style, method of construction, or association with historic persons or events. So,
Lydia, this is Ben
So
Zender.
how would you characterize the difference between these two structures? The one that Maya and Thor are talking about, and the one that was in fact demolished,
well,
which is in the historic.
It's really all of those things: period, style, and association with historic persons or
No,
events.
but what made the other building not historically significant?
Yeah, well, it was partly the architecture, and I don't really want to get into too much about that other project.
Lydia, this is Ben Zender. Can I jump in?
Sure. Yep.
I think the question is a fair one that Mariana posed, which is, there's no question that it's a historically significant building, and it is by reason of it being more than 75 years old. The question is, why was this building determined by the committee to be preferably preserved? And that's a subset of historically significant buildings. And the only guidance you have in your bylaw, it says that a preferably preserved building is any historically significant building, the preservation of which is in the public interest as determined by the board. That's the only statement in your bylaw that speaks to this. And so, putting aside the question as to the vagueness of the standard, there has to be something about this particular building as a subset of historically significant buildings that creates a public interest in the preservation of the building. And that public interest has to be something in and apart from it being historically significant. There has to be something about this building that requires that its preservation is in the public interest, not just because it sits there or because it's 75 years old, because that would be every building that you have jurisdiction over. And I haven't heard yet anything about this particular building other than the fact that the Kemps lived there and the Halberts lived there, both of whom I would say were blue-collar residents of the town. But, there's nothing about it architecturally that's been described other than it being Greek Revival. So there has to be something about this that the board feels that the preservation of this building is important, separately from the fact that it exists in the center of town or that it's a Greek Revival building. And I still haven't heard that. And I think Marianne's question is a valid one, which is, how did the board get to this position that this particular building, apart from it being historically significant, that's what triggers your review in the first place? What is it about this building, and what findings has this board made, or are you going to make, that explain why the preservation of this building is in the public interest of the town? And I'd like to hear that discussion, because we've gone right to why it should be done or shouldn't be done. We haven't really heard anything about how you got to that preferably preserved status.
I think each of us individually has things they feel that make this building historically significant. I live in the center of town nearby. I walk by there on my way to flying fish in the summer pretty much every day. I do love the building, and especially the view from Main Street, looking, the part from Main Street looking down to Ryder Court. And Ryder Court is a very, very special little street. Also, it's a sand road. It's got amazing buildings on it, and this building is a really important part of it.
Well, I'd like to respond to that, if you don't mind, Lydia, because look, I've just heard you explain as the chair of the historic committee that you like to walk past this building and you like the way it looks, without any explanation of some element of this building that is historically or significant. The fact that you, as the chair of this committee, can say, because I walked past this building and I like this building, I can make these homeowners put all their plans on hold for 18 months because you like the building. I don't think that meets that standard that you have to meet. There has to be something about this structure that sets it apart. That means that if you take it down.
I can answer that. The architecture, quite simply, the architecture sets it apart. The architecture, the setting,
So what is it about the architecture of these other buildings that you find less valuable, even though they seem to be of a comparable age? What's that criteria? I mean, I would love to understand. I genuinely don't understand what the basis is. What's the facts in this that make, other than a subjective, look, I love this town. I love all these buildings. I love half of them where they're falling down. But that's not the reality of what's going to save this town. And I'm just wondering, what are the criteria and what's the standard that you're applying? And is it being applied equitably? Other than some
Sure, I can address
subjective
that. We have a Form B, which was created by a preservation specialist. And I can put that on the screen if you'd like to. We can go through it and read it together.
It's not just, I think what I've heard, and maybe I misheard, but what I heard was, yes, there are characteristics of this building, but there are other buildings that have been allowed to be torn down, and I don't understand the difference between this and those others that are of a comparable time period. And why is that architecture not important and this is? And your own articulation thus far is about your personal view walking down the street. And look, I walk down past it all the time myself. But I don't think that's the criteria that a homeowner needs to base their expenditures for trying to preserve something, trying to keep a building standing and useful.
Sure.
Lydia, it's Sarah Kordjeff. Can I jump in for a moment?
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the preservation specialist with the Cape Cod Commission.
Oh, just a moment, Sarah. Yes, Thor?
I would just like to state that Sarah does not have any jurisdiction in Wellfleet. Sarah is an opinion-based historian, and she works for the Cape Cod Commission. So this is a Wellfleet issue. This is not a Cape Cod issue. And if Sarah would like to speak, and if anybody else wants to hear Sarah speak, I'm sure some of you do. That's great. But please keep in mind that this is not, she has no jurisdiction in Wellfleet. This is strictly an opinion based on a Cape Cod.
She doesn't serve on your board.
She doesn't serve on the board yet.
Can I just
That's right.
interject something?
I was actually going to try to just give some background information, not voice my opinion, since my letter to the Wellfleet Historical Commission has already been read. I just wanted to say that when it comes to evaluating historic properties and which ones are significant or not, and providing background information for a historical commission to decide whether or not a property is preferably preserved, they have a great set of guidance that's been developed by the federal government through the National Park Service and the Secretary of the Interior that is really the baseline for all historic preservation decisions. And obviously they're going to add their own local knowledge of their knowledge of the local community and of specific buildings and research into local buildings they've done. But there is a set of very clear guidance that they can use to help determine which buildings are most significant. And it has a lot to do with whether a building has been altered very much over the course of its history, whether it represents an important historical architectural period in the community's development, or whether it perhaps housed a very influential family in the development of the particular community. And so those things they can all take into account when they're considering whether or not a property is historically significant and preferably preserved. And certainly in this case, another issue is the visibility of the property. And as I believe Lydia mentioned, they have in the last year or two had an evaluation of just those properties on Briar Lane and identified long before this project was proposed that there was a cluster of significant historic properties there, so that abuts the existing historic district. So they do definitely have background information on which to base their decision.
And that material is, that material,
Sarah?
May I?
Is that
just a
available?
moment. I just want to say one thing, which is all of that material was part of this hearing link on the town website. So you can see the fact sheet that the preservation consultant created on this building. And like Sarah said, that project was done well before we learned of it, this proposal for demolition.
And
So
so the Holden Inn building has no significant historical value.
Maya, I'm not gonna, I think what I'd like to do is focus on this building, your
I
building.
know, and I'm using this as a point of reference because he is putting his commercial business, rebuilding a building in the historical district of a historical building that was torn down, and he's putting his business in that building of the new building he's building. I just
Thank
want
you.
you to focus actually on that too.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go now to Carol. Wait, was it? Sorry, Dale Rowe. Hi, Dale. Go ahead.
Dale Rowe. Thank you. So my name is Dale Rowe, and I live in Wellfleet, and I am a client, a happy client at Hardcore Fitness, and I really appreciate the work of the Historical Commission and the mission of the Historical Commission. I think what I would encourage you to do, though, is to work with Maya and with Thor on a compromise, because Wellfleet is so much more than just a historic community. We also are a community where we want to support year-round housing for people. We want to support young families that are making a viable run of it, such as Maya and Thor, have kids in the school system. And so while I appreciate all the good work you're doing, I really encourage us to work on the balance for the entire community and all of our efforts and needs. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to go to someone we haven't heard from yet, Erica Meads.
Hi there. My name is Erica. My husband and I, Jamie, we own a business here in Wellfleet. We've lived in the town for 15 years. We own Cape Quality Plumbing and Heating. And I have been a friend of Maya's for the past 25 years. Just to speak a bit about her character, she was born and raised in Provincetown, has roots on the Cape like most other people don't, and has put her heart and soul into the town of Wellfleet. And I think that the short-term picture here is the building, and the long-term picture that you guys should be looking at is a family to establish their business, their roots, and someone that will be living in Wellfleet for the rest of their life. So I will be short and brief about that, but the short term is the building, the long term is keeping a business and a family in town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I see Alex and Karen. They're not really at the table right now. So Dale, your hand is still up. Did you want to say anything more?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm lower. Okay, and Alex, did you want to say something? Your hand was up before. Oh, it's on mute. I'll unmute you. Mute. Okay. Oh, it's still muted.
Sorry. We're trying to balance family dinner, kids, all this stuff.
Okay.
No, so I just wanted to, there's been an earlier comment about a neighbor who had done a lot of work on their home, and over time, didn't understand why Maya and Thor could not accomplish the goals. And it sounded like that owner had done work over a span of time doing the renovations. And I meant to mention earlier when I talked that that's the only thing that made us possible for do the work on our house. So we had no pressing, we could take 20 years to do the work we needed to do. They're in a time press situation where all of this would need to happen. And I don't know who would, it just seems like a tremendous financial burden to imagine that somebody could do that in a short period of time and maintain the historic quality. So I just wanted to say that that's a huge ask to do that work in a short time when someone else has taken many, many, many years to be able to accomplish it. So that's just addressing that point. And I am a bit troubled listening to the conversation as an outsider, so not knowing anyone here, I understand the passion, truly understand the passion for preservation and so forth. I am troubled by the personal attachments that people in leadership in this committee seem to have to, and again, I go back to points that Ben and I think Marianne were making, again, I don't see their pictures, the name, about why this property, why this, and what I keep hearing from, it seems like people in leadership is that there's historic significance, I understand that. What I'm hearing more though is the personal attachment to walking by, seeing and so forth, and that suggests to me that someone should recuse themselves from a position of leadership if they had that kind of personal attachment to a particular project. That's very important to me as a taxpayer and resident. Somebody would be so swayed by their personal attachment to walking down the street that they would that they would not need to recuse themselves from that decision making. So that was what I initially raised my hand for, but that is actually troublesome to me.
I feel it's an appreciation for historic buildings in general, and that is one of them, yes. Okay, I'd like to go now to, there's Stephanie and Francis. I'm not sure who had their hand up first, so we'll go to Stephanie, please. Okay, you're on.
Okay. So I am a resident of Wellfleet. I've been coming to Wellfleet for about 15 years now, and I've been a permanent resident for about the last 8. I am also a client of Maya's, and you know, I do appreciate Lydia, what you were saying, and I do have a deep appreciation for the history of Wellfleet myself. So I see your point, but I also see I kind of don't, because having a building just sitting there and not really serving the town. I mean, this is 2020, and if there can be some compromise where Maya and Thor can get together with you and build this beautiful structure that may even look better than what is there right now, that also benefits the community, that's not forcing out another small business and another small family, and you know, and then the shortage of housing as well. I mean, when I moved here, I mean, there were times when I was shuffling around and trying to find year-round housing for 2 years until I found my place. And so, you know, I don't understand why we want to keep a building there that's really just, I mean, for the significance of the architecture, because people like to walk by it and things like that. I get it, but if there, like I said, can be some compromise where we're able to say, look at this new beautiful building that Maya and Thor have built, and look at it's serving the community. It's, you know, these are, you know, Maya and Thor are, you know, community residents. They've, you know, been here. They have children, like other people have said, in the school system. So I just feel like there's got to be some kind of compromise rather than saying, you know, this kid, you know, we need 18 months and then we can, you know, decide upon it then, and then that puts them in a terrible position. I think that we have to think about the whole town. We have to think about not just one person's point of view, and we also have to think about, you know, it's 2020 and we need to think outside the box. We need to come together and think about how can we solve this problem and benefit the people like you at the Historical Society who want to see this, you know, preserved, but also benefit the people who are, you know, don't want to be, you know, pushed out of our town. I just, you know, I think, you know, Marianne, who spoke earlier, I can't remember the name of a couple other people who had, you know, pointed out that, you know, we need this in our town. You know, we do. And we need this to keep going. And I don't think that they have any intention of making it into something. I mean, I look at Cumberland Farms, you know, that's not in the historical district, but we put in a giant Cumberland Farms, which is an eyesore. If Maya and Thor want to build a beautiful building, what's wrong with that?
All right, I'd like, thank you. I'm gonna, thank you, Stephanie. I want actually Mary Ellen Chivetta and Francis, and I see Carol Ubriaco has also raised her hand. So can we go to Mary Ellen next?
I just want to say that I think that realize that if you're going to take a building down, you don't just come and say, well, here are our plans and we need to do it immediately. I think there has to be time that goes into it. And I think everyone should look at the committee and respect their volunteers who've been given a mandate by the town, and they're trying to follow through on what the town asked them to do. And I don't think it's right to be belittling people.
I agree.
The first two meetings were, you know, I think Maya's a wonderful person. She's a great teacher. But that has no bearing on the historical significance of anything. And I think we have to realize that the town, you know, has given these volunteers a mandate, and they're only trying to do their job. I also think that maybe people could just speak once and not keep saying the same things over and over.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary Ellen. I want to go to Carol now. I'll unmute you, Carol. Okay, Carol, go ahead.
Oh, there I go. I'm Carol Ubriaco. I am a member of the Historical Commission. I moved here because of the historical character of Wellfleet. Been coming here since the 1970s. And every person on the commission here is in love with the picturesque quality, the quality of history that is a part of the town of Wellfleet. That's why we serve on this committee, and it is voluntary. It is time consuming, and it would be appropriate to have a little respect for that. And I thank you very much, Mary Ellen. I heard two people speaking who used the word compromise. That is exactly what the Historical Commission is seeking here, and that is a compromise. We are charged with preserving the historic character of the town. We would like to work with Maya and Thor in preserving the character and also allowing them to have their business in town. We are not against their business at all. We support their project, but we also support the integrity of the historic aspect of Wellfleet. So compromise is exactly what we're looking for here, and a demolition delay of 18 months gives us time to build that compromise. If we just give a demolition permit, it will be gone tomorrow. So we need that time to do that compromise and to be able to balance the two aspects of it. If we can come to a compromise in 3 months, then the demolition delay is dropped in 3 months. So if we can expedite a compromise, then we can move this project up enormously. And that's really the whole point of this, that compromise. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. I'd like to hear
I have a
from
question.
Maya, just a moment. I'd like to hear from Frances. Frances says we haven't heard from her yet. So we're going to kind of go to people that haven't spoken yet, please.
Okay, I was just, yeah, all right. We don't have any guidance of what the compromise would be.
Well, let me address that after we hear from Frances.
Okay.
I promise. Frances, you're still on unmute. Okay, I'm going to unmute you.
Okay.
Frances, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. Go ahead.
I'm in a butter. I have the Francis Clothing Store at 355 Main Street. I grew up on Cape Cod. In fact, I actually am related to Maya. Not that that has anything to do with this, but
we just figured that out.
We just figured that out. And I'm also a client of hers, and I know the reputation of Thor. So I am all for this. I told Maya right from the get-go, it's like, don't bring up sick day. It's an eyesore. And she just shriveled into a, into a little worm at that moment. And it is an eyesore. And I'm right next to that. And my idea, all I can think of, is there any way that we are trying to seek a compromise? And I'm looking at the plans now on my computer. And I understand the space that Maya needs. But quite frankly, the street side of the building is not very attractive. I understand they need 3 apartments. Could they get by with 2 apartments? Can they incorporate, yes, that bloody roof line that Maya's, complaining about? But is there any way within a relatively short period of time that there could be some changes where the plate glass windows, which I assume is the weight room, is a little bit more underground, or a banking or something to kind of disguise that, and some of the windows that are on the exercise area, which would be the the middle floor, where I would be participating. Could those be changed into a little bit more of windows characteristic to, you know, to the building, to other buildings on Main Street or on Briar Lane? But it is imperative that they are able to get their business up and running as soon as possible. I mean, does anyone know of a place that these folks, that she can rent for 2 years? Obviously she's looked, but it would be a detriment to the town if she is not able to get her business someplace on the sooner side than later. So I'm caught with it. I quite frankly don't like the way the building looks, but is there a way in a relatively short period of time that they could start redesigning, tear down the building, rebuild it so it does have some historic look to what it was, which is the front of the house, because I've been in that house and it is rotten through, and that was 40 years ago when I was in that house. So she and Thor are right. And maybe they shouldn't have bought it, but you know what? That's been done, and now we have to go forward. And how best are we going to go forward to, meet everybody's needs in as a little bit of time as possible?
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I speak to
yeah, just a moment. I just want to explain what I'm doing, which is on the screen. I think most of you can see the drawings of the proposed building. Okay, I had a comment from David Agar by text to please share illustrations. So that's what I've done here.
I don't see anything.
You don't see anything?
I don't.
It's not working.
I'm
Just the
seeing
historical
just,
commission public hearing
paused.
virtual.
I'm just
It's
seeing the
public
Zoom
hearing
meeting now.
virtual.
Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. Thought it was to the front.
I
Your
just
screen is
want to
sharing,
make
but it's
one.
not the right view that you're sharing, apparently.
I just want to make one comment because the issue came up that somehow there perhaps was not an appreciation of the Historic Society or the volunteer nature of that. As someone who's involved in 2 local board of directors and does volunteer significantly in the community, I don't think that's what, certainly for my own comments, that was certainly never my intent. I have asked questions that I don't understand certain parts of this process, and I hope that whether it's volunteer or not, that we as citizens are allowed to ask questions to try to understand what the basis is for decisions that are being made. And there is a responsibility for all volunteers in all of these committees to find ways to communicate to residents so that they can understand what's behind the decisions that are being made. And
Thank you, Marianne. I think that point, we got it. We got that point.
Well, it did not come out in some of the comments. Thank you.
I want to make sure everyone has a chance to
word was
speak.
not appreciated, and I don't appreciate that.
I understand. I believe, thank you for that comment. Deborah, unmute. And I think.
Hi, I got it. I'm Deb Mattingly. I'm a seasonal resident there, and I've been there for close to 30 years now. And I love the place. I love the historical aspect. I love the feel of the town. That's why we've been going there for 30 years and hopefully for many more years. And so I just wanted to quickly make a comment, and then unfortunately I actually have to get off. But before I got off, I wanted to raise the issue that hasn't quite been explicitly stated, which is what HeartCore does for the community. We talk about public interest and so on. And to me, when HeartCore opened, it was just like a huge difference for Wellfleet. Fitness is critically important, and having a place, and the only place, to really get together on a regular basis to work out, be with other people in the community and work out, have my support, when I was going through, a difficult time in terms of injuries and so on. And it's just a critical aspect of the community, in my opinion. And I would hate to see Maya get frustrated and leave or not be able to continue financially or whatever. So I just wanted to point out, if we're talking about, what's in the public interest, that for me and my family and friends, Hardcore is just a huge part of public interest for Wellfleet. And I think it's just made a huge difference in the feel of the community. And, again, from that aspect of fitness, that people can get together every morning and just start the day that way. It's just, to me, it's just made a, just an incredible difference.
Okay, thank you,
So I
Deb.
just want to make that point.
Thank you, Deb. Now, Deborah Lewis, did you want to say something? Because your hand is up. I'm trying to unmute. Trying to unmute Deborah, but it's not. There we go. Deborah, did you want to say something? Deborah Lewis?
Yeah. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Yes. So we just want to chime in real quickly, which unfortunately it's Seder night, and I wish this had not been done tonight, but that's really unimportant. Maya, Thor, we totally support your project. We just wish that the facade of the building was not what it is, and we hope that you can tweak it and tweak it fast and move on with this. I think that's the compromise that really makes sense here. Just pay some credence to the architectural integrity of the neighborhood. We just felt that the boxy nature of the architecture could be easily changed to reflect the architectural integrity of the neighborhood. Again, that compromise I think is the answer to this problem, and I think it can be done in a fairly short amount of time, where these architectural changes are made to the facade. That's it.
Thank you very much. That was, so Mr. Lewis, could you just say what your name, your first name?
My name is actually Gene Steinhardt. I'm married to Deborah Lewis.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And now Thor, yes.
Hi, Gene.
Hi, Thor.
Hi.
Did you want to say something, Thor?
I did want to say something. First of all, I want you guys to all know that we really respect and appreciate all this time. I mean, that's something that, and
we love you too. We really do. I mean it.
We love you too.
And we didn't know how to quite approach you guys, I mean,
we'll make it
about
quick.
this.
No, I was talking about the whole board, Gene, but thanks for coming in.
That tells you Gene ego, so everybody already knows.
But the commandment on Seder is to have full glasses of wine. So we're
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Shalom.
From a Staten Island boy, yes.
So, there's things that we have to keep in mind, that in order to have, we have to have form and function. So there's things that we're not opposed to changes. We're not opposed to making it look more historic, but it gets to a point where there's an opinion, and opinions are great, but everyone's gonna, no matter what we build, somebody's not gonna like it.
You're right.
But function and form. If you guys want us to have one apartment up there, we don't get to get where we want to get. We're trying to get 2 apartments up there.
We're trying to maximize the space.
So let's
everyone.
We're up for opinions. We're up for somewhat discussion. But at the end of the day, it gets down to form and function.
Okay.
Really. And we're already over the height. The building's already over the height regulation of 28 feet in Wellfleet. It's at 31 feet right now. And that's a whole other thing that I believe Mary Ellen will be addressing at some point when we go to ZBA, and
yes, that's true. The ZBA will have
so there's things that have to be, compromise is absolutely attainable. But, you know, we have to be able, if you guys want us to only have one apartment up there, I don't think that achieves what we're looking for. So there's a whole bunch of things.
Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. That's why the town
Well,
approved
we don't
the
have,
lift and delay bylaw.
and the fact of the matter is we've tried to go through this process for many months, and we're here.
Yeah.
And we're going through this process.
But we
And,
also haven't gotten any feedback of what the historical would like
yeah,
to
if there's a
see.
pitch that we need to
There's been
subscribe
no
to,
guidance.
if there's a product that we need to subscribe to, if there's a window that we need to subscribe to, we thought that when we presented. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think anyone else who hasn't spoken yet that would like to speak now? We're getting on to 8 o'clock. It's about 10 of 8, well, a little before 7:53 right now. So I think,
Lydia, this is Ben.
yeah, Ben, go ahead.
Just final comments. You as a board have an easy choice or a hard choice. And the easy choice is to impose a delay because it doesn't cost you anything. It puts the applicant on the defensive. It makes them come back and try to hit a target. The hard thing for you to do is to not impose a delay. And you really shouldn't be in the business of imposing a delay on every old house in the town of Wellfleet. You need to pick and choose which structures are preferably preserved, meaning do they have some quality that is special among historic structures. And I've listened to this hearing for 1 hour and 41 minutes. I've been on the phone here. I still haven't heard anything about this structure that sets it apart in terms of either occupants or architectural features or something. And so for you as a board, I know it's difficult to not impose a delay, but this is one of those projects that you really shouldn't be imposing a delay. You do it on every structure, it lessens the impact of what you do, and it doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve the town, it doesn't serve the applicant. In the long run, it's not going to serve your board. So, you know, it would be easy for you all to sit back and say, we'll impose it, we'll work with you in the future. It doesn't work that way. Once you impose the delay, the 18 months starts and the applicant is firing shots in the dark, trying to do something to make you change your mind. You don't have any skin in the game. They do. This is one of those cases where you should look at the structure and say, look, our job is not to protect the neighborhood. That's not what this is about. This is not a historic district. This is about this particular structure. What is it about this structure? And I still haven't heard that. And although it's the hard thing to do, I think this board should vote. It should end it now. It should vote not to impose a delay and to let these people move ahead with their application. And thank you for listening again.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. All right. So ideally, I would be able to share my screen with you. It doesn't seem to be happening. Just a moment. So tell me, can you see the building? You can see that, okay.
I can see the folders.
You can see the folders, but you don't see a drawing of the proposed building.
No.
Okay, I don't know why that is.
So there's a folder that says 20 Briar Lane Drawings PDF on the bottom.
Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, I see what that must be. No, technically I don't know that, this is a challenge, obviously, doing a, maybe I can get to it this way. Can you see the screen of the town?
We're viewing your screen. I'm just wondering if you open one of those files, we should be able to see the file.
Okay, I'll do that. Like I'm opening this file now, but you don't see it.
Try sharing now. It may be just showing the window that you're initially have open rather than the whole screen.
Just new share. Maybe I should say new share. This.
There it is. Oh, that's it. Yep.
Okay. So the Zoom, all right, try and minimize this. So this is the proposed design. 1, 2, 3 images. I can go to some of the background material that informed our decision, specifically this document here, which is part of the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System. This is part of the Massachusetts Historical Commission's database now. It's a, many buildings in Wellfleet have these fact sheets. And this one was done by a preservation consultant. Yes, we rely on expert opinions from consultants and like Sarah Korojeff, Eric Dray. These are people that have worked hard and are preservation specialists that have given us really great advice. We respect them. This talks about the building. It gives basic facts. It has a map. It talks about the outbuildings, the secondary structures. It's very detailed. And this is all part of the record. It's on the town website under the hearing materials. It goes through an architectural description, a historical narrative, and it also, which is quite lengthy. You'll see people going back, into the 1850s and more recent. There's the bibliography and references, historic pictures, current pictures in color. These forms used to all be just black and white. And this does say that it's contributing to a potential historic district. So it's considered an important building, not just by us, but by people, professional preservation specialists. So this talks about, this is the background. This is an earlier Form B that was done by volunteers. Helen Purcell wrote this one. Many of you might remember her. But at the time, this was the way to share and document the town's history. That's really important. So I will. Yeah, I'm going to. Yes,
could you do us a favor?
What?
Could you please just scroll back up? You're at continuous. Just keep going. Now stop. That page right there.
This one?
Yeah, it's checked off a statement form, and it's checked off as contributing to a potential historic district, but it's not checked off as individually eligible, which means that this structure is important, at least insofar as this Form B is prepared, in terms of its location in the town in this particular district. But I tried to read that very quickly as you went by. There was nothing about this house that identified aspects of this house as being important.
Actually, there's a lot in here. So I feel at this point, this is the background material that we rely upon. We rely on this. We also rely on letters that we've received and our personal experience in town.
Lydia, may I ask a quick question? This is Erica Meads. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just have a question on how the Historical Commission has jurisdiction over the property if it is not in the historical district in Wellfleet. I may have missed that in the beginning.
Sure, I can address that. That's in our demolition delay bylaw. The criteria is listed as any building that's over 75 years old. That's one of the criteria. So this falls under that, and there's others. If you just bear with me, I'm going to try and get to the actual bylaw. So here, these in section 2, the definitions. So historically significant buildings are any building which is either listed in the National Register, is more than 75 years old, or is designated by the board after a public hearing as being historically or architecturally significant in terms of period, style, method of construction, or association with historic persons or events. So this is the criteria we're using. I think the method of construction is, I personally wouldn't, I haven't been inside the building, so I don't know a lot about the method of construction, but all of these other definitions work. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you for that. I just was curious as to what the board is trying to gain as far as the construction process moving forward from them. That's the part that I'm not getting out of the meeting. Is are you asking them to alter the building? Are you asking them to keep a portion of a wall up? I mean, I've been part of this process with homes in Provincetown.
Yeah.
What I just want to know what you're asking from the owners, what you're looking for as far as in order to not delay their process. And I believe them to be honest people, that if the commission asked them to make these changes and to not delay the process, I believe that they would do that for you. I just want to know what those would be.
Sure. So if you look at the part that's just underneath the yellow highlight, section 1, this is the purpose. And it states very clearly, the purpose of this ordinance is to protect from demolition historically significant buildings which reflect the historical, cultural, or architectural heritage of the town of Wellfleet, and to encourage the owners of such buildings to explore and develop acceptable alternatives to demolition, such as preservation, renovation, restoration, or relocation. So those things there, that's where, when we're talking about compromise, that means could part of the building be demolished and something added? You know, that's come up in our past experience. So what the demolition delay allows is for a more serious discussion of those things, which have been brought up at previous meetings, but now it's a more formal process. And I think, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. So I'd like to suggest that we vote on that. Is there a motion from, or let me just get back to the screen. Sorry, bear with me. I'm going to stop the share, and then here we all are. Alex, your hand is up. Is that?
Just had a very general question about the role of the Historic Commission, and how do you, or the Historic Commission, how do you weigh historic value versus community value in general? How is this?
Yeah, well, historic value is what we're tasked with. You know, we can't, favoritism, things like that really can't come into it, you know, or I think all of us are really pro public housing and affordable housing, workforce housing. I vote at town meeting. I support the 95 Lawrence Road project. I try and support local business, and every day that I'm in Wellfleet, and I grew up in Wellfleet. Part of what I bring to it is the history, you know, my history in town. And also I look at, I'd love to be able to see them succeed. And I know that others in our committee have said so too. Okay.
Okay.
That helps.
So I'm a little uncertain when you say, Lydia, voting, is that just the committee that votes at this point?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question. I hear a lot about, hi, my name is Nicole Parkington. I hear a lot about history, but what about the future? What about a future of our young families that need our support and need to grow? I feel like it's important to have some historical aspects, but it's also important to look at the future of the town. We have a lot of history, but we need to move forward in the future. And this is a young family that's going to bring year-round rentals, a year-round business, some vitality to the town, which we need.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, lower hand. And I think that we are, let's see, Erica, and I see.
I guess I have one question, Lydia, I'm sorry, about, so the basis now for the committee to vote, is the basis going back to the documents you showed us and simply saying this is how we came into this, and there's been nothing said that sways your perspective about the meaning of historic in the context of this house? Or what? I just don't understand now what is it about this dialogue that could or might change the perspective of the committee? Because from the comments anyway, it sounds like the committee's pretty well decided. And
I can't say that. You know, it's
okay.
you've heard from two of us, I think,
Oh, okay.
Carol and myself, and there's others on Tom Sigia, Nick Watkins, Meryl Mead Fox were participating. Luke Manning is also a member of the commission, though he has recused himself in the past because of a work relationship. So
yeah.
I
no,
think
I was just curious to understand now when we go through a vote,
right.
How is it that the committee is influenced by this dialogue? I mean, we talked about, you know, a number of things, and so
that's going to be up to each of the members. You know, they'll weigh what the background information, and also what they've heard tonight. And I think everyone appreciates the passion, and I know that Maya runs a great business. She got many letters of support, and for her business. You know, I think a lot of people know her and know her business, would love, and most everyone wants to see, families.
You've said already that her business is irrelevant to the Historic Society's.
It's actually, sorry, it's not the society, it's the Historical Commission. There's two different
commission. I apologize for the terminology.
But
that that you're not going to take those things into consideration. Unless I misunderstood, I apologize.
Yeah, I think you're probably putting words in each of our mouths, and I don't think that's a great idea.
No, it's a question. It's a question because I thought what I heard was you don't want to take personal factors into consideration, that this is a decision about the historic nature of the building. So I'm just trying to understand.
Sure. We're following what
the decision's made.
We're following what the bylaw asks of us and what our task is as a commission.
But the decisions about a personal business, any of those personal issues that have been talked about by a number of people,
Marianne,
are not going to be a factor. Is that correct?
It's of interest to us. We take, you know, each person can speak for themselves. I think what we're tasked with is following the bylaw and a pretty clear set of rules. So let's get back to that.
I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm trying to understand. I'm genuinely trying to understand this process and the basis for decision.
Yeah. Okay. Erica, did you have your hand up? And then I think we're gonna.
It was for the question that you had answered earlier, so thank you.
Okay, I'll lower your hand now. I'm gonna go back to the bylaw here. And maybe, I don't know if I dare put the share screen. Do I share screen? Okay, tell me if you see it. Do you see the demolition delay bylaw?
No.
Okay. Now do you see it?
Lydia, this is Ben Zender.
Just a moment. Do
Back to the screen with the icons on it.
Okay.
And that folder is there, but you haven't clicked on it. Whoops.
Oh, it's really hard to do this. I don't quite.
I can read it if you'd like, Lydia.
Okay.
So what I have is that the purpose of the demolition delay bylaw is to protect, this is quote, to protect from demolition historically significant buildings which reflect the historical, cultural, or architectural heritage of the town of Wellfleet, and to encourage the owners of such buildings to explore and develop acceptable alternatives to demolition, such as preservation, renovation, restoration, or relocation.
Okay, thank you. I think at this point, we'd like to entertain a motion on.
Lydia, before the board votes, this is Ben Zender.
Yeah. Just briefly,
the bylaw authorizes you to oppose a demolition delay of up to 18 months, or what it says, which means that you can impose whatever period you think is appropriate. What I would suggest is that the board impose a demolition delay of 90 days, because that would give the applicant sufficient time to come back and explore alternatives, but it won't put them out 18 months, which is going to kill them. So, you have the ability to go 18 months. I've never seen you impose something less than that, but I would ask the board consider 90 days to give the applicant and the board time to revisit this, and that you schedule it for your next meeting to have them come back with some plans to look at with you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks, Ben. Mary? I'm going to unmute Mary Berry. Trying to. There we go. Mary?
Hi there. I would just like to say that clearly everyone on this call appreciates the historical character of Wellfleet. That's probably part of why we all live here. But it seems to me the choice is between a vibrant corner right there, where there would be 3 apartments to house year-round people for, I don't know if it'll be affordable, but market rate. There'll be a vibrant business, which I have been working with Maya in Hardcore for a few years, and she's outstanding. She has done, like other people have said, so much for the community around that business. But I'm telling you, if I have to look at another old house on Main Street that gets bought up and minted out and looks just beautiful, but it's empty and ice cold, and it just sits there as an opportunity for somebody to rent out as a business and make money, it'll be such a disappointment. I mean, there have been, there's the Snow House, that little house next door to the Historic Society, several of the houses along in the area. They look beautiful, but they're empty and cold. And as other people have mentioned, we need a future. Historical significance is absolutely important, but that building is an eyesore. It's, I understand it's got great bones and, maybe some significant people live there, but it doesn't look good anymore. And the community and public interest would be much better served if this project could go forward. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to just read, thank you for your comments, Mary.
You're welcome.
If after hearing, the board determines that the proposed work would destroy or substantially diminish an historic value, it is empowered to impose a demolition delay of 18 months, up to 18 months, and from the date of said hearing to afford an opportunity to develop alternatives to demolition. So that's reading from section 3.5. Are there any comments from Historical Commission members?
Lydia?
Yes.
Dan?
Hi, Ann.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
So
I can hear you.
do we have to indicate tonight, I mean, is that part of our vote, like how long our demolition delay would be?
It says,
or is it just a blanket up to 18 months and then?
It says, I'll read again just so we're clear. If after hearing, the board determines that the proposed work would destroy or substantially diminish an historic value, it is empowered to impose a demolition delay of up to 18 months from the date of said hearing to afford an opportunity to develop alternatives to demolition.
My question is, do we have to specify the number of months?
I think it's, I believe from what we've learned in the past is that we impose the demolition delay and then it can end after, once the decision has been, if there's a compromise, then of course we would love it if we could compromise within 3 months, but I think it's to stay with the way it's written.
Lydia, this has been, I have to jump in. No, I think the board is obligated under 3.5 to impose a demolition delay of some period that can be up to 18 months. I don't think you can just say it's undated. It gives the applicant no certainty at all.
Mhm.
So you have to impose, if you're going to impose a delay, you have to specify what that period of the delay is from, you know, any period up to 18 months, but you have to vote on what that period is going to be.
I think we need to make it 18 months at this point. I would love to make it shorter, but I think it depends upon the compromises that are reached. And I think that should be the basis of any shortening of the delay at this point.
Carol, would you like to make a motion?
I'm so moved that we vote on the demolition delay bylaw. Did I phrase that correctly?
Well, if you want to, just to make it clear, you might want to.
Of up to 18 months, is that what you're?
Is that what you want me to say?
I think that's what you
vote on
suggested.
the imposition of the demolition delay bylaw for a period of 18 months.
Of up to 18 months.
Up to 18 months.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? I'll second that. So that's me and Carol. And now we can discuss a little bit more. We have an opportunity to talk before we vote.
I'm sorry, Lydia, can you, as the chair, can you second a motion?
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry, but I do believe the chair just votes it if there's a tiebreaker.
Yeah, the chair doesn't vote.
But can they make a second on the motion? That's just I just want to ask that question.
I know that chairs, like if I'm looking back at select board meetings and so on, the chair can second it or make, I believe so. If
I would be happy to second the motion, and I'd like to say something about why.
Okay.
That's okay.
Sure.
I actually voted against this motion in the first meeting that we had in February, and part of the reason was because I wanted to support this young couple being in town and wanted to support the apartments and wanted to support Maya's business. But I've done a lot of research on this since we met in February. I'm the newest member of the committee, and this is all a new process for me, but it's quite clear that our mandate doesn't have anything to do with those issues. I think most of us, if not all of us, support all of those issues. But what we've been mandated to do is to preserve and protect the historical and archaeological assets of the town. And according to this demolition delay bylaw, I believe that this house is historically significant, and we've presented a lot of information that indicates the reasons why, both from Sarah Korcheff and from the Historical Society. I hear that to some people they aren't legit, but it seems to me that we have not, that Maya and Thor so far have not really been open to considering compromise, and my hope is that they will consider the idea of perhaps at least preserving the historic facade. We don't have any choice about what happens inside the space, but the hope is that they would be able to reach their dream, that they could have apartments upstairs. And it's historically appropriate to make use of things like shed dormers, so that might be an option. To be able to do construction perhaps in the back of the building and make some of the changes there that they need to make for Maya's business, but to preserve at least the historic facade of the building. And I don't think that's an unreasonable compromise to try to work toward. So for that reason, I'm going to support the demolition delay, and I think we need time. We don't know how much time it's going to take. There's no way to tell. And I don't see anything in the bylaw that indicates, as Ben Zender is saying, that we need to indicate how long the delay will be. There's nothing. I've gone through all the paperwork in preparation for this meeting, and I have found nothing that says that.
Okay. Further comments from the Historical Commission? Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote. And I think we should do a roll call vote since this is a public hearing. And Anne, would you be, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
so
I'm here.
I wanna just get the people that are present first. So Lydia, Tom, Anne, Meryl, Carol, Luke. Are there any other?
Nick.
Nick is there.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So that's all 7 of us: Lydia Vivante, Thomas Sigia, Anne Friess, Meryl Mead Fox, Carol Ubiaco, sorry, Lucas Manning, and Nicholas Watkins.
Lucas Manning is not here. He's recused himself.
Okay.
Lucas recused himself from this.
He did. Okay. He's participating. I mean, he's in the hearing. He's part of the participants.
Yeah, I'm here, Lydia, and I've been present for the whole meeting, and I'd like to stay recused.
Okay, so let's note that in that Lucas has recused himself. And let's go to the roll call vote. So I'm going to start with Carol, who made the motion. Carol?
I vote to impose the delay.
Okay, so that's an aye. And Meryl?
I vote to impose a delay.
Okay. And then I can do my, let's go last, I guess. Tom?
Tom?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Can I make a comment or can I ask a question before I vote to the owners?
I believe so. We are, well, we're voting on the motion, so let me see.
I think after you get a first and a second on a motion, that then there is discussion and then there is a vote.
Right. So the discussion period we had, and the question wasn't asked then.
Okay.
So I feel like at this point, you'll probably want to.
I'm going to sustain. I'm uncomfortable. I didn't hear anything relative to this property that makes me lean one way or the other. Quite honestly, I think I want to compromise with this couple. And my gut's telling me putting an 18-month delay is not the way to start a compromise.
Okay.
I like Ben's idea, 90. I'd even go 120 in today's marketplace and what's going on, 120 days, and try to work out a compromise with the architecture of the building. My father was an architect. He did all kinds of historical buildings back in New York. And I know, and this is back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when it was very difficult to make changes. Today, it's not that difficult. It's all computer operated, so.
Okay. So thank you. Oh, sorry, did you want to say anything else?
No,
Okay.
I heard all the great things about what a nice couple they are, their business, all that stuff. I think we're setting a bad precedent with non-residents and residents. I think we get ourselves in some really hot water with the town on that. I think most of the people here are residents, but I know not, and I'm a resident. I know a lot of non-residents that would, I think, have a difficult time with this if we go because we made a decision because they're residents. That's not what Wellfleet's all about, in my mind. So I sustain.
Okay, so that's one abstention. And Anne?
I support imposing the demolition delay bylaw.
Okay, thank you. And you're second. I mean, then I'll be last. So.
Is it me?
Yes, Nick.
I vote to impose the 18-month demolition delay.
Okay, thank you. And Lydia.
I'm sorry, is Tom's vote a sustain or a no vote?
It's an abstention.
Abstain.
But is it truly a no vote because the basis is he doesn't agree with the time frame?
Well, we were using the words that he used, which was abstain. Well,
Yeah, and I'm just asking.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I abstain.
he abstains. So, and that leaves me, and I also vote to impose an 18-month demolition delay. So that covers it. And all this is recorded as well, so we'll have that information. Now our task is to, 7 days from the hearing, we have to notify the owner, applicant, and the building inspector of his decision. So we'll do that in a memo. We'll get that to Maya Beckbaum and Thorbaum, and also to Justin Post, the Wellfleet building inspector. So that'll be our next step, and then we will start to try and find a compromise, work together, and see what we can do. All right. Okay, so thank you, everybody. It's been a long evening, and it's a very stressful time. Sorry to get you from your families and things on this night, but hope that you enjoy the rest of the evening. And the Historical Commission typically meets on the first Wednesday of every month. And for the time being, of course, it's always going to be through Zoom. So
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Thor and Maya. Hope you have a good rest of the.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
So I'm going to end the meeting and just, I guess we have to adjourn it, actually. Let's do that. So is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
I make a move to adjourn the hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Who is that?
Nick.
Carol? Okay, Nick seconds it. Any discussion about that, or I think we all agree we'd like to? All in favor?
Aye.
Hands?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So have a great rest of the night, everyone.
Very good.
Thank
Thank
You too.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.